Let's talk now. Earlier on in the interview, you talked about what you say was a black ops operation by the ANC. The revelations, of course, allegations that the ANC ran a war room in which it is alleged that they, some of its activists were engaging in a smear campaign against opposition parties. You said that you will take this up sharply through legal channels, but also through the IEC. How far is that process?
I met with the IEC today to make sure that I request an investigation into it formally. I've tasked now our legal team to be able to draft the request for investigation, because we want to make sure that at the end of the day, the IEC is a safeguarded institution, that free and fair elections must take place. And this particular operation, I think, undermines that very essence. It introduces inducement. And we believe that that type of inducement is not only detrimental to opposition politics, but to the very essence of the will of the people. So that investigation, the IEC has confirmed that they will take it on from me. I've also asked that subsequent to that investigation, the report be tabled in Parliament, and it's through the parliamentary program that we can then engage a legal process.
Why should the black ops operation that the ANC carried out in August 2016 carry a heavier penalty and be punished more than what the DA black ops operation was in 2013 in Tlokwe, when the DA printed fake ANC posters?
They were out, they were open, everybody knew who they came from. Nobody sought to say this wasn't. It was a comparative pamphlet, it said. ANC DA. It was a comparative pamphlet.
But that was still in violation of the IEC Code of Conduct.
And to which we withdrew, and it was the investigation took place. The question here is that, A, can you track who produced those posters that this war room operation did? Can you track what those fake Twitter accounts that are upholding news are? If you want to put something forward in an electoral, the law says you must own it, you must account for it. That's why every poster must state where it comes from. Every post must be able to do that. It's our laws. And if there was a finding that said we broke the law, then I'm happy for the investigation to proceed. So I'm not hypocritical to anybody. The ANC here, we believe there's a violation of the electoral law. In the two matters, they've certainly not sought to confirm where the information comes from. They must be investigated.
Another issue, of course, we've seen the resignation as a leader of the DA in the Western Cape of Patricia de Lille. The explanation, of course, has come out, the reasons given that, she wants to focus on her role as mayor, executive mayor. But is that all there is to it, Mmusi?
I met with Patricia de Lille. We've had a number of engagements. Make no mistake, in any political environment, there's dynamism. But it is without question she has a critical role in making sure the city of Cape Town delivers. It is without question that she has to assist with all the other respective metros. So I think this whole peddling that there must be much more to it is quite frankly baseless. I met with her, we've had multiple conversations. Patricia de Lille must focus on helping us govern better in Cape Town and other metros.
But you'd understand where, the skepticism comes from when you are hearing about, Helen Zille potentially, standing to contest Patricia de Lille for the leadership of the DA in the Western Cape, and saying that some people have approached her. It's quite understandable in that context that people would be doubtful of your explanation.
As I made the point earlier, there are multiple dynamics that take place in a political party. I'm giving you the reason why Patricia de Lille resigned. Now, I was at a meeting with Patricia de Lille and Helen Zille late last year. The report that you are basing that statement, whether Helen Zille was going to stand or not, was on the basis of last year's report. A lot happens in a political environment. The facts on the table are she's come to a point at the start of the year, and I've had engagements with her, that she's going to focus on the city. And I think there's nothing less credible about that. It's an important dynamic about the job that we've got to do. Let me ask you this question. If you had one of your most experienced mayor in your organization, you just inherited your government, would it not strategically make sense to you to ask her to say, can you also assist us with all the other metros? I have a Metro Mayors Forum where I meet with all the metros so that we can knowledge share and make sure that government is improved. That is sufficient. People will speculate. The ANC's made statements, other parties have made statements, people will say this was that. None of that is true. The fact of the matter is that I've got to deal with the issue of governments, and Cape Town is important, so are the rest of the metros.
Are we seeing the return of Helen Zille, and is that a good thing?
I think it's not certainly in my purview. The fact of the matter is that Helen Zille remains Premier of the Western Cape, and what she chooses to do is her own role. I don't think she wants to return. I don't think she wants to return to leadership of the DA. There's no sort of discussion taking place. We're focused on taking this organization forward, and I'm leading the organization in a way that we're developing new leaders. And I think you'd agree with me that we're seeing a new breed of leaders coming on board, and it's quite exciting.
Because of time, my final question to you, still on Helen Zille. She tweeted in the wake of this controversy around, a restaurant where a waiter was, categorizing people by race. And basically she tweeted in defense of that and said that if it's okay to categorize people by race for the sake of employment, why is it not okay to do the same, when it comes to categorizing people at a dinner table? Is that really the kind of attitude that's welcome in the DA, and to have someone like James Self defending it and saying, this is manufactured outrage?
Look,
is it really like that?
Look, I think if the discussion about the tweet must take place with Helen Zille herself, because we try not to force people into saying, you will tweet this, and we give people the right to individual.
She represents your brand.
Mmusi Maimane stands up here today and I say that the waiter chose to describe people in that manner, and that the South Africans who were there were offended by the issue is wrong. If I sat here and you said Mmusi Maimane is a black man, it is perfectly normal, because I've maintained the statement to say, if you don't see that I'm black, you don't see me. But if all you see is that I'm black, you also don't see me. Because in truth, I am a black South African, but there are many other attributes to me. So in this particular instance, that what other people can infer and read into it is a different matter. In my sense is that no restaurant obviously can use that to describe their own patrons. But I think there's been a whole movement of South Africans who've come forth and wanted to stand up and say, we are proudly black. That's me. And so I think we mustn't ever sit back and now suddenly when people take a different stance, now suddenly we say, it is wrong for me to be called a black South African.
So from what you're saying, that it was wrong for the restaurant to use that
in a classification of their own system.
Yes.
But I'm giving to you as a personal view to say that's my view. My stance is to say
So then that would say the statement made by, if I'm not mistaken, it was James Self, that all this is manufactured outrage, is incorrect in your view.
South Africans.
I'm not sure if you are outraged, but you are not happy with it, certainly.
South Africans, we have a history of race and racial discrimination, particularly against black South Africans. Anyone who seeks to do that and classify people in a connotation that seeks to say this is less than, or whatever the case might be. In this instance, it so happens that it was by another black South African in this particular instance. And that I think if South Africans take offense with that, it's legitimized. I'm not suggesting that it's not. I'm simply saying to you, as I sit here today,
it's not manufactured outrage.
That to call a South African a black South African, what is the offense in that issue?
Mmusi Maimane, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity.